So Whitburn has now changed its name. It's now going to be called Northwood Central. So this is in response to the fact that the track plan of the station is actually based on Northwood in North London, which is on the Metropolitan and Great Central Joint line out of Marylebone. I've tried to move it a bit further north, more around the Leicestershire area, so most of the stations on the Great Central there were called something central, like Leicester Central or Rugby Central. So Northwood Central seemed a logical name to call it. So there we go, Northwood Central. So since the last video of the railway, the very unfinished railway, there's many things have taken place, and I'll quickly do tour around the layout so you can see some of the new stuff. Most of it's scenery, although there has been some other things that have taken place too. So on the last video we looked at some elevated curves, which I got the idea from Everard Junction, and I used some 1mm mount card to just lift one side of the track up. So when it's ballasted, like this one here, you can see it looks pretty good. 1mm seemed to work quite nicely. The trains transition from the flat to the elevation quite nicely, and I'm quite happy with it. This brings me on to the next point, which was to redo the platforms, and the platforms originally were 18mm MDF, but unfortunately the American steam engine, the J1, wouldn't go round the corners very well because of some overhanging pipework. So by elevating the track and lowering the platform slightly, we enabled the pipework to hang over the platform. So the platforms are now 17mm high, but I've rebuilt them all and they now have an overhang, if you can see that very well. So the wall of the platform is made from softwood from some Venetian blinds, and that's been cut down to 14mm, and then a 3mm hardboard top has been put on. The hardboard top's then been painted with chalkboard paint, and the edging stones are just some Metcalfe paving slabs which have been cut up into individual pieces and then laid around the edge. The white line is just done from a acrylic paint marker, just a pen, and just drawn on by hand. It looks quite good. We've also been working on this bridge. So the old bridge was a girder bridge, and this one is a cut down Metcalfe footbridge that was from a previous layout and no longer needed. It's not quite finished yet, but getting there, along with the back wall of the platform, which needs some stone or brick papers. Moving round a bit further, you can see the platform continues, and it's all now being ballasted as well, which gives it a nice feel when the trains are running past. The buildings on the little town scene, there's not a lot happened there. The bus is in to pick up his passengers, and the milkman is still trying to deliver his milk. There's some ballasting been done here too. So the head shunt for the colliery is now ballasted, and so are the points for the exit of the colliery sidings. Moving around a bit further, at the end of the platforms we can see that the station point work has all been ballasted. None of it's been weathered, but it's been ballasted, and I think it looks pretty reasonable. Also ballasted has been the goods yard. The whole goods yard has been ballasted with a fine grey. It's not finished yet, it still needs some greenery and some bushes and a bit of overgrowth and stuff like that, but small things, small steps. You can see the coal siding has been suffering from some spillage. We now have an old coach which has been grounded and put into the goods yard as the stores. Still needs painting up and stuff, but it is actually an old ratio coach kit, and it's one that I had. It's probably about 30 years old, but I taken the wheels off, took the bolsters off and grounded it. It's not going to run anywhere on this layout, so why not? So this piece of blue wire is a result of me having built the goods yard on a slope instead of being sensible and building it on the flat. One of the issues I had was that wagons tended to keep rolling out of the goods yard. So this was an idea I got from an American model railway magazine, and it's just a piece of bent wire with a couple of track pins holding it in place, and you can just bend the wire down to let the wagons out, and then just pop it back up to keep them in place. So simple, and yet it works really well. So I've got one of those on each siding in the goods yard, one here and another one here. Over at the back behind the goods yard and that, the tracks that have the colliery sidings in, they go round underneath all these buildings, and these buildings represent the colliery, and they're old buildings from other layouts that I've had in the past. So there's the old Metcalfe bus depot there, needs the names changing, but it'll be alright, it's been renamed. Behind that on a shelf is the old engine shed and the boiler house and the water tower. And together, I think, put all together, they make quite a nice set of industrial buildings, which the coal line runs round and underneath. Still, as you can see, it's not finished, it still needs weathering, it still needs plenty of ballast and ground cover and stuff, but there's a start been made. One of the things we wanted to do over this year was to just get some ground cover and a little bit of scenery down on the layout, so it's not boards. So we've got a basic covering of static grass where I want some greenery, and at the minute it's just one layer of 6mm static grass. It needs redoing with some other textures and shades, but it looks pretty good at the minute. As you can see, the other elevated curve into the station behind the goods yard has also been ballasted, and I think it looks pretty reasonable too. I'll show you some pictures in a minute of the trains running around those curves. So again, as we pan round a little bit further, you can see there's more bit of greenery there. Got some different shades starting to appear here, and at the back corner where there was a piece of board, just plain board, we built a bit of a hill, a couple of houses on the top, a little water tower, and a footpath which runs down the hill to the tracks, and there's going to be a footpath across the tracks to this bridge here, which we showed in the last video. And the footpath, again, it needs some coping stones, but the footpath then continues round at the side of the sidings and all the way down to the goods yard, just at the end there. So we need some fencing along here. One of the things I'd like to do over the winter is to get some wire fencing put up, some wooden posts with 5 wire strands through them. I think that would look quite reasonable just along there. scanning around a bit further from this bridge here, we can see there's not a lot of work being done on this side. The passing loops are still plain track on the boards along there, and at the front the kind of fiddle yard bit, which originally was going to be some lift out cassette type things. I've done away with those and just put track all the way down because it's fine scale, 75, code 75. The trains were running a bit rough over the joins, and I just decided to do away with it. So we're just going to have 2 tracks running through there. At the minute I'm not sure whether they're going to be scenic or not. Probably will be in the end. So the last corner of the layout, which I think we may have shown in the last video, is supposed to be a bowls club. So we've got the bowls club building there now, and the groundsman's come to just check the ground out. We've got the bowls club here and a hedge around it, and what I've tried to do here, remove these 2 bits of ballast and grass out of the way. We can see that we're trying to produce a kind of forced perspective here, so the bowls club's supposed to look like it's going off into the distance with some little terraced houses which are actually engage on the hillside behind. So I think if we get some engaged trees on there, that might look quite nice. The bowls club was originally built because my parents were playing bowls. They've actually stopped playing bowls now, so they wanted to know if I was going to make the bowls pitch, bowls green, sorry, into something else now, and I said no, it's staying as it is. So just moving around a bit further, some more ballasted point work, track, and then just down behind that is the tunnel. Oops, is the tunnel where the loop goes underneath the other one, and that's been ballasted too. I think that looks quite good.